All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to unbox our kit, okay? And I'm just going to go through the supplies in the kit. So hopefully somebody at your house took a look at the instructions. I'm going to teach you how to do it, so you don't have to worry about that. But just know that these paints are permanent, and they will stain your clothes or your carpet or your cat, or, you know, so you want to be careful with your paints, okay? And in your kit, you should have either an apron. Some of you got a trash bag, and unfortunately, we ran out of aprons one day, so we put in trash bags. But either one of those can serve as something to cover your shirt and your lap. So just make sure that you're covered because it will stain. And then there's a face mask that was just kind of a gift in there. All right, and let's see what's in our little goodie bag here. We have a plate, paper plate, and some napkins. We have some paintbrushes. Yours might be a little different than that. That's okay. Plate and napkins, those are important. And you should have one of these little plastic, one or two of these little plastic squirty thing. We're going to use those to pick up water to put in our paint. And then you might, we're going to be stirring our paint. So you can stir them with this, or you can use coffee stirs, whatever you have. You should also have some paper or plastic cups in your kit. And then you should have some ornaments. And your ornaments might be a different size than mine. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what size. I'm going to show you the kind of ornaments that we're going to do today so you can see some ideas. So the first part of this class, I'm going to show you how to paint some objects, okay? So I'll show you how to paint the Colorado Sea, if you like that. That's the sea on our flag. I'll show you how to paint some holly berries. I'll show you how to paint a little snowman. I'll show you how to paint a Santa. You can do white Santa, brown Santa, whatever Santa appeals to you. And let's see, anything else? Oh, how about a snowflake? We'll do a snowflake too, okay? So that's the first part of the class. So I'm going to show you how to make those things, and I'm going to go kind of fast because not everyone wants to see all of that, but it at least gets you started. And then you can paint whatever you want. If you say, I don't like any of these things, I want to paint a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle or whatever, you just go ahead and do whatever you want, okay? So that's this first part of the class. Then we'll take a nice little break or a nice big break, depending on what you need, but time for you to visit. And then the second part of the class, we're going to do some pour painting. And this is pour painting. And it's really different than painting on top of the ornaments. And you can see it makes this marbled, this kind of modern marbled abstract look. And this is actually, I'm going to show you how to paint on the inside of the ornament. It's not on the outside, it's on the inside. So here's a red and green one. This one is purple and green and blue and white. It just has all kinds of interesting colors in it. We've got a brown one, and I threw some sprinkles of glitter in that one just for fun. It's got brown and white. It kind of looks like granite, like a countertop, I think. This one has all kinds of colors. Got some paint on the outside. Some green and yellow and red and blue. Here's another one with all kinds of colors. Aren't those pretty? They remind me of bowling balls. Here's one that has all kinds of colors. The grown-ups might remember lava lamps. There's something called lava lamps. They kind of look like lava lamps too. So we're going to have some fun pouring paint into our ornaments to make these really cool designs. So those are called pour paintings. All right. So here's a blue one. This is pretty, blue and white. Okay, so I could show you those all day. I love to paint those. So we have a ton of them here. All right, I'm gonna stick those back in, and I'm gonna start with showing you, telling you a little bit about the paint, okay? Before we use the paint, let me tell you a little bit about it. So you should have some paint in your kit, and yours probably have tape on them. So take the tape off carefully. And then we're gonna take the lids off carefully. That might be a grown-up job. All right, I'm gonna have the lids off. Now, if you accidentally get paint on your clothes or your tablecloth or your mom or the cat or something, or your computer, oh, I hope not. But if you do, I'll tell you what to do. All right. If you get paint where you don't want it, you're gonna have to take a napkin and pull the paint off, just like you would pull off chewing gum out of your hair. Ooh, that would hurt, but this won't hurt. You just pull it off with a clean napkin, okay? So that's the first thing you do. And then you take dish soap right out of the bottle. You don't use water, and you rub it into the spot. And then after our class, you put those clothes in the hottest, you wash them in the washing machine with the hottest water that you can on that particular shirt or pants or whatever it is. If it's your cat, don't put the cat in the washing machine, okay? Or your dog, you're gonna have to give him a bath. So try not to get it on your pets or your sister or your brother, okay? All right, so I've got all my paints open. And now I'm just going to show you some designs, and you can paint what I do, or you can just wait and say, no, I'm only going to do pour painting, whatever you want to do. I'm going to probably paint objects on 2 of these, and then I'm going to pour paint the other 2. But you can decide whatever you like. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up a big brush, and I'm going to put a background. And I'm putting a background on it because I'm going to paint a snowman on that. And I don't want the snowman I want the snowman to show up. And he won't show up very well, or she won't show up very well unless because if I put white on there, it'll be hard to see. So if there's a background, there'll be contrast. And I'm going to just do that, and then I'm going to set it down on the dry side, and I'm just going to wait a little bit and then come back to it. So that I'm going to let that dry for about 5 minutes. Acrylic paint dries in about 5 minutes if it's a thin coat. So that's a thin coat, thin. But if I put a lot on, like with a pour painting, then it takes a long time. Then it takes about a day to dry, maybe 2 days even. So we're going to try to put it on kind of thin, and we can make another layer when it's dry. I'll show you what I mean. All right, so let's do this. I will show you some easy stuff. First, I'm going to show you some holly berries. All right, so the holly berries are, you just take, and I have paint on my hands all the time. Take one of your brushes, a medium brush. It's good. And then I'm going to paint one ball. Then I'm going to paint another one, just touching it. Then I'm going to paint a third one up here. So all 3 balls are touching. It's like 3 friends standing next to each other holding hands. But these berries don't have hands, so they're just gonna be huddled up warm together next to each other. See that? All right, I'm going to clean my brush. I always use a lot of water to clean my brush. Don't drink the water. So I'm going to use a lot of water, and I'm going to swish, 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 swish. I always tell the kids in my classes, swish like you're saying your ABCs. And then if you swish a lot, your brushes will magically get clean, and then all you have to do is check it on the napkin to make sure it's clean. And that way we don't use too many napkins. All right, so I've got my 3 berries, and then I'm going to dip my brush in, and I'm going to make a point and then a curve. So there's a point and then a curve, and then this curve is going to curve in to touch that one. So basically these leaves are long and skinny, but they have the sharp edges like a knife. So I'll show you that again. So we come out from between the berries, and I go like that, kind of a V, and then I curve in here, and I curve in there. It almost looks like a little bell or something. And then I take that side and I curve it in and I curve that one in. So now this has 2 points. And then I can fill that in with a little more green. So I'm going to start with a point and curve out, then curve in, curve in, curve in, curve in, and then fill it in. Now it doesn't look very good right now, but I'm going to set that down and let it dry. And then I'm going to do the same thing on top of it. I'm going to make the red redder and the green greener, another coat. But I'm just going to let this first coat dry. So I'll set that down. And again, I'm going to clean my brushes. All right. So that's the hollyberry. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do, let's see. I'm going to start a Santa. I'm going to start a Santa. Hold on. Let me get my Santa. Where's my cutest Santa? Where did I put him? All right, Santa. Oh, there you are. Okay, here's Santa. He's happier than the other Santa for some reason. Okay, so there's a happy Santa. So I'm going to start the Santa, the first layer of the Santa. So your Santa might have brown skin. He might have this color skin, or he might have a different color. You decide, okay? But to make this color, I'm going to pick up a little of my red paint. I'm going to put it on the plate. I'm going to pick up a little bit of my yellow, put it on the plate. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of my white, put it on the plate. And then I'm going to swirl those around. A little yellow, a little white, and a little red. It's going to look like makeup almost for someone like me. If you want to make your Santa, his skin a little browner, you could add just the teeny tiniest amount of blue. Such a small amount, such a tiny, tiny amount. It's almost like you had an ant and the ant walked through blue paint and had it on the bottom of his feet. Look at how little that amount is. That's ridiculously little. Just the tiniest amount of blue paint. And if I stir that in, it will make it my brown, the skin on my Santa a little browner. It'll just be a little darker. So you decide what your Santa looks like. I can wear that as makeup. All right, so got my Santa skin, and I'm going to make a circle. Whoop, just a circle, because he has a chubby face, and we're going to just, he's a happy guy. We're just going to put on a circle in the middle of that ornament, and then I'm going to clean my brush. You can set that down on the dry side if you like. All right, why don't we just set that down and we'll come back to Santa in just a minute, okay? All right, I'm going to go back to my snowman. Okay, so now I'm going to make a snowman here. So I just set down that Santa had his skin. I'm going to let it dry for just a minute, okay? I'm going to go back to my snowman, and here's how you make a snowman. So the ball on the bottom is the biggest. Then the ball in the middle is medium. So large, medium, and the head is smaller, right? All right. So if I want to make this snowman bigger, I can always do that. No problem. I could make him bigger. Why not? And if a little blue mixes in because it's not quite dry, that's okay. That's all right. Blue just makes the snow look cold. All right, so I've got the 3 balls on the snowman. Now you're gonna probably ask me, well, how do I make brown for his sticks, for his arms, or black for his nose? I'm gonna show you. So to make brown, remember the colors we mixed before? We're gonna mix a little red and a little blue and a little yellow. So those 3 colors together red plus blue plus yellow. We'll stir them around, and like magic, those make brown. Oh, so far it's making an icky green. I need to add more red. All right, when I stir them together, it's going to be like magic. It's going to make brown. All right. So I've got, now it's a little red. I got to add a little more yellow, a little more blue. Oh, good. Now I have a chocolatey brown. Don't eat it. Don't eat it. All right. So now I have a brown. Good. Now I'm going to take my skinniest brush, the one that has the tiny baby bristles at the end. Find your skinniest brush. I'm going to come back in, and I'm going to pick up some of that brown paint on the skinniest brush, and I'm going to put a stick for his arm. Whoop. And then he's going to have an arm sticking out there, and he's got 3 little fingers coming off it. I don't know why snowmen always have 3 fingers, but you can put 5 if you want. And that one's up because it's like he's waving hello. And this one's going to be down. All right. So I've got a snowman with 2 arms. Now you might be saying to me, I don't have black paint. How am I going to give him a black hat? Well, I'll show you. So remember that brown paint? All I have to do is pick up a little more blue. And I mix it in with my brown, and it's magic. Look at that. It makes black. Woohoo! I love making new colors out of mixing colors. That is so fun. All right, so I've got my black paint. Now I'm going to give my little snowman a hat, but I have to be careful not to touch his head because it's still wet. So there's his little hat. Hi, snowman. Hi, hat. And then I'm going to take my skinniest baby brush, and I'm going to get just a teeny tiny bit of paint on the end of that. And he's going to get 3 buttons. 1, 2, wait, 1. Maybe let him dry a bit before you put on the buttons. Yeah, we can let him dry a bit. Anyway, I'm going to put him down and let him dry a bit, and then I'm going to come back in, and I'm going to put on his buttons, and I'm going to put on his face. Okay? So let's let him dry a bit. Now we can go back to Santa. Hi, Santa's head. You need a head. You need stuff. All right. So I'm going to get a little brush again, and now I'm going to give Santa a hat. And his hat is going to go around his head there, about the top of his head, and then it's going to come up in a curve and a point. A curve and a point. Curve and a point. All right, there's his little hat. Remember that skin color we used for his face? I'm going to take this red that's on my brush, and I'm going to pick up a little of that skin color, and then I'm going to blend them together. So it's kind of half skin color and half red. I don't want it to be red, I want it to be pink. So half skin color, half red. And then I'm going to put 2 little circles. These are going to be his cheeks because you know why? It's cold outside. So he's going to have this little round circle on this side and this little round circle on this side of pink. Because his face gets really cold on the North Pole. All right, then I'm going to pick up another brush with a kind of small point. I'm not using any big brushes right now. That was only for the first part where I put on a background on the snowman. And I'm going to give him a big beard. Here's where you get to have fun with putting it. You can make his beard as big as you want. I'm just going to plop it on there. Hey, Santa, you're getting a big old beard. Do, 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 do. And then I'm going to really carefully, and you can let this dry first if you want, but I'm going to give him a little fur, white fur at the bottom of his hat. And notice how I'm just kind of dabbing it on there. I'm not rubbing it. I'm just dabbing it on. All right. And then he's also going to have a mustache. Now, he doesn't have any eyes or a nose or a mouth yet. We're going to have to fix that. I'm going to have to get another skinny brush. Let's see, got to find a skinny brush. All right. Remember that black we used for the snowman? I'm going to just be really careful. You can hold I like to balance my pinky on my other hand, or you can put this on the table and do it. But I'm holding it up, and I'm going to give him a little triangle nose like that. And then I'm going to pick up some more paint on the end of that little brush, and I'm going to give him a blue eye. A blue eye. Just a round circle blue eye. And then on the other side, I'm going to give him a round circle blue eye on the other side of his nose. He's starting to look like a Santa. He's starting. And then I'm going to go back into that black paint, put it on both sides of my little brush. And then, oh, not black, silly me, red. I'm going to go into the red. And I'm going to give him a smile. Ooh, little smile. All right, there's my Santa. Now he looks like a bald Santa, so I'm going to give him a little bit of hair on the side too. Top of his beard and his hair coming down. There we go. That looks a little more like Santa, huh? And then when Santa's done, well, actually I need to give him a little white poof ball on the end of his hat. I'm going to set this down and I'm going to let it dry. And then later on tonight, when it's all dry, I'm going to come back and put more red on his hat. Just like on the berries. Remember those berries we made? See, they just don't look really great right now. So if I add a little more red after that first batch dries, I put more red on and then I let that dry and then it all looks better. So see, this was drying already. And later on, after Santa's hat's dry, I'm going to come back and I'm going to paint his hat red again. Just put some more paint on it. And adding a second coat of paint really helps. And I'm going to clean my brush and I'm going to add more green to those leaves too. But I don't want to take all your time and do that now. I'm going to show you something else, okay? All right. So remember that snowman we had? I'm letting him dry on that side. So pretend that this is a different one. I'm going to show you a snowflake. So the way to make a snowflake is you just have to remember that snowflakes are symmetrical. And what symmetrical means is that whatever you do to the top, you have to do to the bottom. It means the same. So I'm going to make a plus sign. There's a plus sign. And anything I do to this part, I have to do to this part. Anything I do to this part, I have to do to that part. So if I make a line coming out of the middle here, then I'm going to have to do it over here. And then if I make a line coming out of here, I'm going to have to do it over here. That's what symmetrical means, the same. Now, if I want it to be more of a snowflake, I can, let's say I'm going to put a little arrow here, but then I have to put it over here, remember? And then if I do it over here, I'm going to have to do the same over here, because on the other end. It's like on a teeter-totter. If you've ever been on a teeter-totter, if you have just one person, it's not fun. But if you have one on each end, then it's fun. So same kind of thing. Now, I don't have to do the arrows here. I could do something else. I could put a backward arrow. I could put a backward arrow on that end. But I have to, whatever's on one end, I have to do to the other end. Like friends on a teeter-totter. See that? And whatever I do to this one, I put two little lines, I have to do to this one. Whatever I do to this one, I have to do to this one. And whatever I do to, I'm going to do a diamond shape on that one, I have to do to its friend on this side. And on this side. and on this side. So as long as you remember symmetrical, you can make a snowflake. Just remember symmetry. And you can even, you can connect with lines going across to all of them, whatever you want, but just remember to make it symmetrical, okay? And that's how you make a snowflake. All right. So I'm gonna have to be careful because I painted that one on the back of the snowman. All right, I'm gonna let those dry. So I've already showed you a lot of stuff, but I'm gonna show you a little bit more. Or do you guys want to take a break right now? If I'm gonna let the art goods, since they're the planners tonight, do you want me to take a break now, or do you want me to show you 2 more things first?
Let's get a consensus from the group. How's everybody doing out there?
Can we keep going?
Can we keep going and you can show us how to do the swirling paint inside?
Yes, you bet. I'll keep going, okay? All right. If you would mute yourself again, I'm going to just show you 2 more things, okay? I'm going to show you the Colorado Sea, and I'm going to show you a Christmas tree, okay? So a Christmas tree, there's 3 different kinds of Christmas trees. Easy, a little harder, and not hard at all. How about that? None of them are hard. I'll just show you the easiest. The easiest one is just a green triangle. That makes a great Christmas tree. That is so easy. Anyone can do that. That's kind of the elementary school Christmas tree. Okay? The next one is just a little bit harder. You make a triangle, and then you make another triangle that's sticking into the top one. And then you make another one where the point is sticking into that one. So your tree has layers. All right, now I'm going to show you one that's a little harder, but it's a little more realistic. All right, I'm going to do it with a big brush. This is actually how Bob Ross kind of does his trees. He's an oil painting, or he was an oil painting teacher, but it's similar technique. So he first made a trunk, and then you put the paint on a flat brush. See this flat brush? What I mean by a flat brush is it's round here where it's connected to the handle, but then as it goes up, it's crimped, it's squished. So this side's skinny and that side's fat. That's a fan brush. Sorry, can't even talk. A flat brush. Okay, so I have my flat brush. Using the skinny side, I made a trunk. And then I make sure I have plenty of paint on my brush, and I'm going to drop down a little bit, let that point be there. That's where little branches haven't grown in yet. And now I'm going to tap, tap, tap. I'm going to just keep tapping down. And as I tap, I drop down another row. And each time I tap, I'm making it a little wider. These are just like you're putting branches on a fake Christmas tree. If anybody has an artificial tree, you'll know that you start with the pole and then you add a branch at a time, and it gets fuller and fuller as it goes down. It's the same kind of thing. This tree looks a little more realistic. They're all happy trees, but this one I think is especially happy. And I just go all the way down, and I can tap over the trunk area for a little more fullness if I need some more fullness in there. Okay, but don't cover all the spaces on your tree in between the branches, because you need room for the birds to fly in and make their nests, okay? We don't want any dead birds on the floor because they flew into this tree, all right? All right, so far so good. And then of course, after you make a Christmas tree, then is the fun part, right? Then you have to decorate it. So you can come in, hold on one second, I'm gonna show you a little trick. You can put little balls on it with the brush like that, little ornaments, right? Yeah, no problem. You can do that. But here's another trick. You can flip the brush this way. I'm going to clean that side first. But you can flip the brush this way and use the stick and then just turn it from the stick. That way works too, and you can get little tiny ornaments that way. Why not? Either way works great. And then of course, every Christmas tree needs a star or an angel at the top. And since stars are easier, we'll put a little star. All right, cool. All right, so I've showed you a Christmas tree, showed you Santa, I showed you holly, showed you snowflake. The only thing I haven't showed you is the Colorado Sea. And that's a little harder, but it's pretty cool. All right, so Colorado Sea. Hold on, let me make sure my paints are a little closer to my brushes. All right, I'm just cleaning my brushes. I always want to make sure that my brushes are really clean. Swish, 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 swishy, swishy like a fishy. That's what I used to tell the kids in my classes. All right, I still do. It's just now our classes are on the computer instead of in person. So I'm I'm putting yellow on my brush. And the first step of the Colorado Sea is to, oops, hold on, sorry. I have an errant hair on the end of my brush I got to pull off. Sometimes that happens. Okay, the first step of the Colorado Sea is the sun, right? So I make a sun about the size of a quarter. And then I clean my brush. And then I pick up, for the red part, I'm going to pick up a flat brush. Now, hopefully you're letting your ornaments on the table. They're easier to paint. The flat ones are easier to paint if you just put it on the table. I'm holding mine up so you can see it. If you have a round one, you can put it in a cup. Even the flat ones are a little easier that way. But I'm going to put red on my flat brush. And I'm going to make a C around the red. Now you have to have you have a choice. You can either have a really steady hand and avoid that yellow, or you can let the yellow dry for 5 minutes and come back and do the red C later. That's what I would recommend. I would let the yellow dry for 5 minutes and then come back and do the red C. Do it in steps. That's a lot easier. But I want to keep on going so I can give you time to do it yourself. So I've got my red C. And I'm just washing my brush, swishy, swishy. Swishy, swishy, swishy. My water is pretty dirty, but as long as I swish it a ton, it doesn't matter, because then it comes off. So I've got the red C, the yellow center, and then I have to hold it up here, and I'm going to take a flat brush, and I'm going to make a blue stripe along the bottom. Blue stripe. Blue stripe, and then another blue stripe at the top. Now, on the Colorado flag, it actually has white in the middle, but I didn't bother putting white in the middle. You could, if you wanted, you could have put the background white, like we did the snowman was blue. You could do that. I didn't bother. But you know what is kind of fun? I like to pick up my biggest round brush, and the round brush is the ones that's not a flat brush, remember? And I like to use white paint, and I like to just dab on some snow around it. It's not really the Colorado flag that way, but it's kind of just showing, yeah, Colorado's cold in the winter. Here's some snowflakes to prove it. But you don't have to do that. You could do it however you want. Now, that C does not look very good. It's just like the holly. Remember on the holly, it didn't look very good the first time? I've had to set this down and let it dry. And then when I let it dry, I'll come back later and I'll fix the red with more paint. And if the blue or the yellow need more paint later, I'll fix that too. So sometimes it's important to just let it dry and then come back and fix it later. All right. So I think that is all I have because we're going to take a break so you guys can paint on, I would say if you paint on 2 of your ornaments and then leave the other 2 for pour painting, that would be a good number. Okay, pour painting is really interesting. Instead of painting on the outside of the ornament, we're going to paint on the inside of the ornament. And I heard someone say earlier that they want to combine the 2. And we've actually done that on some of ours. We have a Santa on this one, and the back is pour painted. The inside, let's see, one of our holly berries is pour painted with, it's kind of hard to tell, it's a peachy color with white on the inside. This snowflake is, well, it's pour painted on the outside, on the inside, and then there's a snowflake on the outside. So you can definitely, you know, let your surface painting dry, the outside one, and then pour paint. That's fine. Just let it dry first so you don't ruin what's on the outside, okay? All right. So to pour paint, I'm going to take my cup and I'm going to pick my favorite color, okay? So let's say I want to use blue, and I'm going to squeeze all the blue that I can out, or maybe take a little stick and a little coffee stir, kind of get more of it out. I don't have to use all the paint though. If I want to, I can. No problem. All right. I crushed it, so now I got to throw it away. Okay, so then I'm going to add a little bit of water, and that's what these things are for. These are called pipettes, and when you squeeze the bulb with it in the water, it sucks up the water, and then we'll drop it in there. So I'm putting it in my water, and I'm going to drop it in there, and I'm probably going to need 2 or 3 pipettes full of water. Then I'm going to give it a stir. Now the paints, the way they came, those are the consistency. They're like Greek yogurt. Not as thick as peanut butter, but it's still pretty thick. It's like jelly, right? Those are a thin solid. It'll still dump over, but not right away. That's a thin solid. What I want for pour painting is a thick liquid. So I want it to have a little water in it. So what I want is that I want it to be able to drip, but slowly. It's kind of like ketchup or mustard or Hershey's syrup or pancake syrup, something that will drip, but slowly, okay? That's what I want for pour painting. So there's 2 kinds of pour painting that I'm going to tell you about. One is called a clean pour. One is called a dirty pour. And so I'm going to show you a clean pour. And you know what? I forgot to take grab some more ornaments. Let me grab a few more ornaments. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. Thanks for your patience. I was so busy painting, I forgot that I didn't have any for the pour. Okay, so that is a thick liquid, right? So a clean pour means I'm going to pour in paint one at a time. So I've got my cup, and because it's a paper cup, or you might have a plastic cup, you can squeeze it. See that? Now, actually, I'm going to also do one with white. I set that down. This ornament is a flat one, so I can set it on the table. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to prepare this white paint with some water. And yeah, my water is a little dirty. That's okay. When I mix it in, it won't matter. I'm doing the same thing to this white paint that I did with the blue. I'm going to stir it. And now it's a thick liquid. All right, now I'm going to pour that in. Oops, that one's pretty thin. And I'm going to turn it around. So you could use 2 colors in a pour painting, or you could use 3 colors, or you could use 5 colors. It's totally up to you. But notice how I'm sloshing it around. Let's say just for fun, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add a little red now. I think it would be a good idea if you wanted to prepare all your paints first, actually, and then add the water. I don't need a lot of red because I just have a little bit room left in that painting, in that ornament. All right, so now that's a thick liquid. I'm going to pour that in too. All right. Now I'm going to notice how I'm turning it. I'm going to do it over my plate. So if it leaks out, that's okay. Turning it, turning it, turning it. If there are any spots that don't have paint, then I just hit it into those spots. All right. So I've got this now, and I'm going to turn it upside down and let some of it drip out into a cup. And you'll see that some of it's mixed. Now, over time, it's going to mix even more. The more you tap on it, the more it will mix in there. But over time, it will, as it's drying, they will mix a little bit more. Okay, so that's one. That's called a clean pour. So a clean pour means put in one color, then I put in another color, then I put another color. That's called a clean pour. Okay, let me tell you the difference between a clean pour and a dirty pour. A dirty pour means that I put all the colors in one cup. So I can take that blue and I can putting it right into my drip cup. So I've got blue, just scraping all the blue right on top of that drip. Okay. This is going to be called a dirty pour. And then I'm going to take that red, anything that comes out, I'm going to let that go right on top of the blue. Now I'm not stirring it together. And I'm going to take another cup. So I'm going to take another cup. I'm going to make some yellow. Hold on. Let's make some yellow. Now remember, this is called a dirty pour, okay? When you use different colors in the same cup. For some reason, kids love the dirty pour. So little water, 2 or 3 of these. Water. Then I'm going to take a stick and stir it. Make it thin enough. Remember, liquid. That's my yellow. So all the paint has to be made into a thick liquid before you can pour it. I'm going to pour that right on top of what I did before. So all of that is in one cup. The red's in one cup, the white's in one cup, the yellow's in one cup, and I'm not going to stir it. Look at the mess it is in there, but I'm not a mess. It's kind of cool, but I'm not going to stir it. That's the key. Don't stir it. We take the tops off of these, tops off, and then here's the dirty pour. Now here's the thing. The reason I don't stir it is because when you mix red and yellow and blue together, you get brown. Remember when we made that brown for the snowman? I don't want to make brown right now. I just don't. I'm trying to get some of that blue in here. So I'm going to pour a little more of the next one. I don't want just yellow. Oh, there we go. Now we're getting some colors. A little bit. So this is all the colors in one cup. This is the dirty pour. Notice how I'm turning it. I'm turning it because that helps the colors move around in the ornament. And notice how I'm tapping it, and that's moving the paint around. If I were using glass ornaments, I couldn't do this. I would be afraid of it breaking. That's why we use plastic ornaments here. Notice how it's starting to marble? Look marbly, isn't that pretty? All right, I'm going to take more of this paint. I'm going to put in a little more on this one and hopefully get some more color in there. Maybe some of that red will come through. Come on, red. Come on, red. But I don't want to move it too fast or too much because I don't want it all to turn brown, remember? There's nothing wrong with a brown ornament. We have some really pretty brown ornaments here, but I don't want everything to turn brown. I want to keep some of those pretty colors. Ooh, look at that. This is how I tap it in to fill in those spots. Tap to fill it in. Oh, wow. This one's turning out nice. See that? Not pretty? I like these yellow and blue ones. I'm a Michigan fan. I don't know about you guys, what schools you root for, but I'm a Michigan fan, so that reminds me of the University of Michigan. I might just put a big M there. All right, so that is called a dirty pour. And every time you pour from this cup, as long as you have paint in it, it's going to be a little different than the time before. So if you are enjoying this pour painting, I want to tell you where you can get the materials to do more of these pour painted ornaments. Yes, we do sell the kits here, absolutely. But you can also get them you can get the paints at Michael's. Oh, look at how pretty those drips are. You can get the paints at Michael's, and you can also get the little ornaments at Michael's as well. They also have them at Hobby Lobby. We order a lot from Michael's, so I'm not quite sure where the prices are better. I also know that they have acrylic paint and ornaments at the dollar store. So I'm going to add a little more paint, and I'm going to do this last ornament. But you can see already, just from the drips, how pretty those drips are. So if you're doing a dirty pour, just remember it will start to mix a little bit on its own. But don't move it too much, or else it'll start to turn brown. After I pour an ornament, then I like to put it in the cup and let it drip dry. I just let it drip so that all the excess paint comes out of it. Now the paints have to sit like that for, I don't know, I would do it overnight so the paints drip into the cup. And then the next day, what I would recommend is turn, put the flat ones flat. If it's a round one, just put it in the cup up and let it dry for 2 days. The reason it takes so long for these to dry is there's only a little bit of air coming in because that's the only opening, and paint needs air to dry. So after I let the drips come out, then I turn it the other way and I let them sit for 2 days. And then after 2 days, then I put the tops back on, and then you can hang them on your Christmas tree. So one more thing I want to tell you about pour painting. So pour painting is super fun, I think. I love the designs it makes. But some people online do it on canvases. And so if you do it over a canvas, then that's great. You can varnish it or put a spray sealant on it to keep it shiny. But remember, when you're putting anything on a Christmas tree, you don't want to cover this with a varnish or shellac or something that you don't really know if it's flammable. When it's on a Christmas tree, I just use the paint because I know the paint is safe and it won't catch fire. So just be careful with anything that goes on a Christmas tree. Always make sure you don't add anything flammable inside or outside, okay? And by flammable, I mean, alcohol or any kind of solvent. And sometimes when people are painting with canvases, they use those things. We just don't do it on ornaments because we want to be safe. Here is the painting that I did today, just using leftover paint on a canvas. I taught a class, I had all this leftover paint in the cups, and I just poured them on a canvas and let it dry. It's not very shiny, but I'm gonna buy some some spray shiny stuff in the can, the kind that you would buy at the hardware store, and just spray it on. And on a canvas, it'll look really cool. Makes a cool painting. But again, don't spray that stuff on your ornaments, okay?
Same.
Thank you so much. This has been fun.
Thanks. We do have free classes on our YouTube channel. If you enjoy painting with us, we do have more classes on our YouTube channel. Those are totally free. And we'll be here all winter selling kits. So ornament kits, you know, probably through the end of the year, in case anybody wants to make more ornaments before they put away their tree. We'll have canvas kits and also face mask kits. And then you can watch any YouTube video where we teach people how to paint for free. Do you guys want to see our face mask kits? There are face mask. We painted these face masks using our painting classes.
Don't you do that?
So here's a face mask that we did with fall aspens. Here's one we did with a Bronco sunset.
Ooh, that's cool.
Here's one we did with a beach scene. And these were just canvas paintings, and we just, you know, follow along and paint them on face masks. And then it's kind of like a t-shirt. When you first get it, it feels stiff, but then the more you wash it, the more it softens and the color stays on. So yeah, I hope you paint with me some more.